My friend Carlos is taking me to a haunted pink mansion.
The neighbors, they could hear this woman screaming.
Wanna come?
No.
Then we're off to Sorbeteria Colón to enjoy some French sweets. Am I in Paris? No.
It tastes so richly coconutty.
This is Mérida, the capital of Yucatan. A city exploding with flavors and a fusion of cultures that creates some of the most exciting eats in Mexico.
Very generous tacos, look at that.
Like the most popular breakfast stand in the city that has its own spin on the American chili bowl.
El chile habanero.
And I'm meeting an old friend who's cooking up a Yucatan classic.
Very, very good.
Back in my kitchen, I'm combining the flavors of Mérida in a smooth and easy to whip up pea soup with basil and mint crema.
¡Está buenísimo! Super sweet.
Échale nada más encimita, ándale.
¡Sonó rico! So breathtaking.
Yucatan's capital of Mérida is a unique blend of Spanish and Mayan influences. In the 17th century, after Spain colonized the land ruled by the Maya, it became a strategic hub for Spain in the New World. Today, it's a thriving city with a distinctive culinary scene that I find myself returning to time and time again. But Mérida is not only rich in flavor. At one point during the turn of the 20th century, more millionaires per capita lived here than anywhere in the world. All because of this plant, Henneken, used for so many things including ropes, ships, and bags. And this was their playground, Paseo de Montejo, a street lined with little palaces in the heart of the city. Carlos Sosa is an expert in Yucatan history.
They were the biggest landowners.
The biggest and the richest. On those days, the only material that existed to make ropes and bags
Thread,
are
rope.
thread ropes for the ships, the big ones, they were made with Henneken. And as the hacienda owners, for them it was easier to travel to Europe and France. They were moving back and forth from France to Yucatan, and they were bringing all what they wanted to furniture, architects that would design the houses, to build them.
Built in 1904, this mansion was designed to replicate a French castle. It was abandoned for years, and when Carlos was a little kid, the game was to see how long he and his friends could stay inside without getting scared.
And I've heard there's a legend of a ghost in here.
This is
right?
something that, as many of these places have legends. The legend of this one is that a couple who came here in the 1980s that rented a house, she was bit by a bat.
When the woman became ill with rabies, her husband locked her in a room until her death. Afterwards, the neighbors reported hearing her cries through the walls. Miguel Peniche manages the property.
Hasta que lleguemos al fantasma.
Ok. Te tengo que contar algo. El fantasma no existe.
No.
Bueno.
No importa.
No importa, no importa.
I'm not convinced there's no ghost. But nevertheless, the original owner, Miguel Peón, who lived here for 20 years, might have an even more tragic story.
Miguel pierde en una apuesta de póker.
No.
No, fue una historia, pero terrible. Pierde la casa con todo lo que había adentro, ¿ok?
Qué locura, pero era un empresario muy exitoso.
Era jugador.
Era
Es
jugador.
lo único que sabemos.
Era gran empresario y jugador. Pero entonces, Miguel, enséñanos un poquito.
The current owners have renovated and restored much of the home to its former glory.
Y ahorita te voy a mostrar la habitación, que originalmente era la habitación principal.
I can't help but wonder if this is the room where the woman from the legend cries at night.
Tiene una cómoda o chiffonier. La palabra chiffonier se utiliza mucho en Yucatán por toda la ascendencia que había francesa.
Pero platícame una cosa. ¿Tú había esta obsesión con todo lo francés?
Sí.
¿Pero había gente francesa también?
No, pero hay mucha cultura francesa. Lados Colón viene de tradición de postres franceses.
Sorbetería Colón, only a few blocks away, started in 1907, just 3 years after the Pink Mansion was built. Their wide variety of French pastries and frozen treats offer a brief reprieve from Yucatan's famously hot, humid days.
¡Qué antojo!
This is one of the most iconic places in Mérida.
So it's not ice cream?
No, it's not an ice cream,
sorbet,
sorbet.
which means it's water-based.
It's water made of seasoned fruits.
¡Uy, qué
look at
rico!
that.
Este es de...
Crema morisca.
That's crema morisca.
Ah,
¿Qué es lo que
we're
trae
gonna
la
share.
crema morisca?
Vainilla, canela,
Ajá.
pasta de guayaba, huevo, leche y ron.
Entonces, este es sorbet de coco.
sorbete. No, esa es la champola. Es la nieve, pero lleva leche. Queda como una tipo malteada.
A ver. Entonces, solo es el sorbet de
De coco.
y leche.
Leche.
¡Qué rico! It's like so light, pero it tastes so richly coconutty. Yum. So the mix of cultures and flavors in the Yucatan is very different from the rest of the country because also you guys like are kind of isolated geographically from the rest of the
We were isolated. In fact, Yucatan was a country.
The Yucatan Peninsula, which is now separated into 3 states, Yucatan, Quintana Roo, and Campeche, has declared its independence from Mexico twice. The final attempt was in the 1840s, but a brutal Maya uprising known as the Caste Wars cut the effort short.
But the war of castes was so strong. Mayas were winning the war. So the Yucatan government was trying to get help from different countries in order to fight against the Mayas. They proposed to US, to England, and to Spain and France. None of those countries accepted. So they had to go back to the government in Mexico. Nowadays, for many years, we were called the Sister Republic of Yucatan. And we make jokes about you coming to Yucatan, but you're from Mexico, you need a passport. If you don't have a passport, you cannot get in here.
And going back to the sorbets and the pastries that are so French but rooted in Yucatecan flavors, do you think people are still as obsessed with French-influenced foods?
Some. Now we have a diversity of cultures coming into the place that some of them, which are not really strong, are kind of melting.
But
it's-
people are still flocking this place.
It's a tradition to find in the bakeries.
Oye, pues qué rico.
Mm.
It's so good.
Buenísimo.
Sorbetería Colón also bakes French-inspired sweets, but there's another place that has been baking Yucatecan cookies for generations, and you can smell it on the streets.
¿Qué es lo que están pidiendo?
Estamos pidiendo globitos. Son unos como unas bolitas así que se toman con café.
Y se
en el
los-
desayuno.
¿Y se los toman de diario con su cafecito?
Yo sí. Yo sí.
¿De dónde
Ella no.
No.
No, dice que engordan.
Since 1905, Donde has produced the buttery, flaky crackers, globitos and bizcochitos that grace the breakfast tables and coffee mugs of thousands of Yucatecans every morning. Marion and Fausto led me behind the counter of their stand outside the original factory to get a taste.
Oye, entonces aquí tienen todas las galletas yucatecas. A ver, enséñame la diferencia. Este es el bizcochito.
Sí, pero es salado. Son galletas saladas.
¿Y esta?
Igual son galletas.
¿Es del mismo sabor? A ver, ponme aquí unos globitos. ¿Cuáles te gustan más a ti?
Los globitos.
A mí me gustan más los bizcochitos.
Por la forma.
Por la forma,
Pero es la misma masa.
Sí, exactamente.
Somos de Team Globitos.
Jorge Domingo is the production manager at Donde and wants to show me the Yucatecan way of eating these crackers. But for safety, we have to follow this yellow paved road. No veering. In fact, we're sitting on the front steps because we're not allowed to film inside for safety reasons. It's not a bad idea, since I've been known to get in trouble with large machinery.
Pero tú dirías que el globito y el bizcochito son parte de las dietas del yucateco.
Es parte de su cultura, porque eso es un desayuno para mucha gente.
Y empezó la empresa en 1905
Así es,
por una
tenemos-
familia yucateca.
con una familia de españoles que llegó y se fundó aquí en Yucatán. Ahora
Enséñame.
Ahora probemos cómo se
Enséñame.
comen unos globitos de bizcochitos
Sí.
en un rico y delicioso café.
Ok. ¿Con qué haces tú? ¿Con bizcochitos o con
Con
globitos?
cualquiera. Es mucho más fácil con globito.
Entonces hagámoslo
porque
con
puedes
globitos.
agarrarlo mucho más fácil con la cuchara.
Hagamos.
Entonces, vaciamos los globitos en tu tacita de café, así
Ajá.
más o menos, y agarras tu cuchara y lo vas sumergiendo hasta que se remojen completamente todos los globitos.
Ya se
¿Sí?
me antojó.
Y ahora los vas, con la cuchara, los vas tomando y los vas comiendo.
Rápido lo quieres agarrar crujiente.
Exactamente. La tecnología para hacer el chocolate o el café cambian y se modernizan, pero la tradición de comerlo con globitos y bizcochitos permanece.
These crunchy crackers aren't just for coffee. Yucatecans use them in many ways, including creamy vegetable soups.
Today we're gonna make a pea soup with mint and basil crema. And I got inspired to make this soup because of two reasons. One, people in the Yucatan use peas so much, and I think it's a very unappreciated ingredient. And the other is, I was amazed by how much people in the Yucatan love to use those donde crackers in the soups. So I'm starting off by chopping half of a white onion. And it doesn't have to be finely chopped because we're gonna puree everything anyway. I'm turning my heat on over high. Okay, I'm adding the 2 tablespoons of butter in here, and then I'm adding 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Once you see that the butter starts bubbling into the oil, like this, you wanna add your vegetables. And then I'm gonna keep my heat at medium because I don't want the vegetables to burn or brown. I don't wanna have that toasty flavor. I wanna have a very subtle, gentle flavor all around in this soup. So now, leeks in Spanish go by the name of poro. And it's super common to combine leeks and onion in vegetable soups. It gives it an amazing flavor. Just like so. We need about 2 cups. Oh, it smells like soup already. The moment the leeks start cooking, they let out this sweet scallion-y aroma. Okay, so once they soften, I'm gonna add my chicken broth. 6 cups. And then I'm gonna add 4 cups of peas.
To complete the pot, I need 1 teaspoon of salt, a half teaspoon of black pepper, and 1 cup each of fresh basil and mint.
And these were 2 herbs that I was very surprised to find and to be so thoroughly used in Yucatan, but they have their own kind of basil. And the basil you find there, like many of the ingredients in the Yucatan, is very aromatic, very fragrant, very sweet. It needs a few more minutes, it needs to simmer, it needs to cook. So as this cooks, we're gonna make the crema or cream that's gonna top it. And I'm just using 1 cup of Mexican style cream. It's thicker than heavy cream and it's tangier. And then I'm just gonna chop some basil and add it in here. And a little bit of mint. A tiny bit of salt and pepper in here. Okay, so mix. Let me see. Yum!
Our final step is to puree your mixture to silky smooth. Then return it to the pot, and it's practically done.
Let's try that. It is so soothing. It has that sweet taste and that lingering coolness from the mint. And now I'm gonna top it with the crackers. So I'm just gonna do a few at a time. These are found year-round. And then you can do it with crackers, without crackers, in mugs, in bowls, whichever way you want to try it or whichever way you want to eat it. I hope you give this pea soup a try. Hola, Mauricio.
Hola, Pati.
Continuing my quest through Mérida's tasty treasures brings me to one of the best tacos in the city. Mauricio Lira and his family are the owners of Guayané, a taco stand in Mérida that definitely deserves a place on the most distinctive food list. With their spin on the cheesy, delicious Castacán taco. And the smoky, saucy chili bowl, a taco version of the popular United States chili bowl.
Desayuno obligado de Mérida es en Guayané. ¿Lo estoy pronunciando bien?
Guayané.
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 ¿Y qué quiere decir Guayané?
Guayané es una palabra maya
Ajá.
que quiere decir aquí está.
Ajá.
Esta taquería se dio hace 32 años y comenzamos con mi esposa. Aquí en la esquinita puse un puestecito de lámina para que ella vendiera golosinas y cosas. Y siempre que me hablaba me decía, gordo, piden comida. Y me puse yo a cocinar, solamente 2 guisados.
¿Qué? ¿Cuáles?
Pork chop
Ajá.
y carne asada en adobo.
They now have more than 30 stews, but are famous for 2. And I have a secret. The best thing to do is mix them together.
Very generous taco, look at that.
Delicioso.
The Castacán taco is made with crispy slices of pork belly and melted queso, a dish that Mauricio made his own by using manchego cheese. The chili bowl is a bean and chipotle sauce taco. Mauricio found inspiration at the airport in Miami.
Estaba un letrero que decía chili beans.
Ajá,
Y
como el
dije,
chili bowl.
Ajá, anda. Y le digo, si ellos tienen chili beans, ¿por qué Yucatán no va a tener su chili bowl?
Y es una palabra que tú te inventaste.
Sí.
Chili bowl.
Definitivamente.
3 tortas.
Each one of Guayané's 4 locations is managed by one of their kids. This one, the original, is run by their son, Guillermo.
¿Qué tal tu mami? ¿Quién cocina mejor, tu mamá o tu papá?
No, los dos cocinan.
Los dos cocinan.
There are so many good options, there's no way I can live without trying one more taco. And Mauricio won't let me leave without trying his personal favorite, cilantro chicken.
Está riquísimo, gracias.
Al contrario, gracias a usted por estar con nosotros.
It's impossible to talk about the flavors of Mérida and Yucatán without mentioning Xtaventún, a sweet, aromatic liquor made with fermented honey and anise seeds with notes of licorice and fennel.
Hola, Fer.
Hola, Pati. Qué gusto verte. Bienvenida a Casa de Aristi. Igualmente.
Fernando is one of the longest tenured employees at Casa de Aristi, the first company to sell Xtaventún commercially in 1935.
Ahora vas a conocer a Manuel en esta parte nueva, quien es el que se dedica y se encarga de todos los procesos de producción.
Almost 100 years later, the recipe remains unchanged, thanks in big part to this man, Manuel Gómez.
Mucho gusto.
Igualmente.
Oye, huele a miel.
Their head distiller.
Yo me quiero quedar aquí.
Sí.
I'm just
Aquí-
gonna stay here.
Aquí hacemos
Smells
lo que
so
es
nice. Entonces, ¿aquí qué está pasando?
Aquí tenemos lo que es el Xtaventún.
Aquí ya está todo
Aquí,
mezclado.
aquí lo elaboramos con miel 100% yucateca.
The drink is inspired by an ancient Maya fermented drink called balché, made with melipona bee honey and tree bark. The Spanish came and removed the bark, but introduced anise seeds.
Esta es la miel yucateca.
Ay, mira el color.
Y la densidad.
Como ámbar oscuro. Lo voy a hacer así. Yum.
Muy delicioso, ¿eh?
Yum.
Muy rica. Sí.
Está sticky, tangy, sweet. Ay, like deliciously sticky. Yum.
They ship tens of thousands of bottles a year, hand-inspected, cleaned, and packaged.
Pásatela a ella.
De la boquilla. ¿Cómo te llamas? Jorge, ¿cuánto tiempo llevas embotellando? 30 años. 30 años, como tú.
Sí, más o menos.
¿Tú
ahí
te
vamos.
conocen desde hace 30 años?
Sí, hace años.
Ahora, ya que están aquí, ¿qué haces? ¿Le abro aquí? Para allá. Pero estabas deteniéndolas todas.
No, pero le puede dar.
¿Y no se me van a volar?
The bottles are rinsed,
Ah, ¿más? Y nada más le haces así.
filled,
¿Y ahora cómo se corre? Solito.
Písale un poco más hacia arriba, un poquito más.
not as easy as it looks.
¡Ah! ¡Me pasé! ¿Cómo le regreso? Ya se las jodí.
Ahorita regresamos a la botella. Hácelo despacito.
Písale un poquitito para que se
Ahí ya
alce
con
la
eso, con eso, con eso.
Ah,
And finally, bottled and shipped. Of course, no one should drink on an empty stomach. And luckily, one of the most accomplished chefs in Yucatan has plans to open a restaurant here on the Hacienda grounds. Chef David Cetina.
David, ¿cómo estás?
Bienvenida, Pati.
¡Qué rico verte otra vez!
Bienvenido, Fernando.
Hola, David. Doña
David and his assistant Olga surprised me with a Yucatan classic, Siquilpac, a smoky Maya pumpkin seed salsa.
¿Qué quiere decir siquilpac?
Siquil, pepita, pac, tomate en maya.
Pumpkin seeds are the star of the dish, giving it the smoky flavor, along with crushed roasted tomatoes, chives, and cilantro. Nothing is complete without Yucatan's most ubiquitous chile.
Rostizadito.
Claro, chile habanero rostizado y
Ajá.
sobre todo con un aroma que le da el chile habanero aquí en Yucatán, porque huele.
Sí,
El olor, nosotros los yucatecos,
No te vas a...
lo comemos, para nosotros los yucatecos es dulce. No pica.
No, I'm not going there.
Cuando en la puntita no pica. Pruébalo. Este es como
She's
chile
saying the
dulce.
tip is not spicy, but I don't believe it. ¿Sí?
Seguro no pica.
La puntitita.
La puntitita. Sí, vas a sentir como un sabor entre un chile dulce. ¿Te picó o no te picó?
No, nada.
¿Ya ves?
Why?
Decía mi abuela que cuando el chile pica mucho
Ajá.
es que lo sembraron cuando uno está molesto,
Ah.
o cuando uno está desnudo.
Ah, ¿de verdad?
Sí. Claro, esta es la suerte porque vamos a probar este. Wow.
¿Ese sí pica?
Este sí pica.
A ver, este.
Pruébalo.
A ver, yo este.
Ándale.
No, no. Sí.
Este sí pica más.
Este, wow. Este sí pica mucho. O sea, es de suerte.
Es de suerte.
Chiles are capricious, like, what can I say? ¿No?
Siquilpac is such a fun, easy to make dish that's perfect as a nutritious light snack. And it's already ready.
Botanita para nosotros.
A ver, Olga, usted pruebe primero.
Para que lo sientas rico.
Le voy a copiar. Le falta
Está bien,
sal,
no,
le falta
está bien.
chile.
Mire lo que le falta, pero está bien de sal.
Pero entonces puedo agarrar el chile que mordí y puedo agarrar así
Ajá.
y chopeármelo.
Claro,
Ok. Tú también.
claro que sí. Ahí está.
Está bien de sal, ¿no?
Very, very good.
Mira, con este y con este. ¡Qué rico! Le voy a llegar a la parte más picosita.
The flavors of Mérida are a complex tapestry of new and ancient, Spanish, Maya, and even French. Yucatan never ceases to leave a long-lasting impression on my palate and in my heart.
Sí, ya me estaba vendiendo el ventilador.
Y con aire frío, ¿no?
Le ponía el ventilador y un hielo atrás.